the past few years, I've been on a bit of a mission, trying out different types of side hustles that everyone online seems to be recommending. I wanted to see which ones actually had the potential to bring in some good money and allow me to finally quit my corporate job. So today I'm going to be spilling the tea on every single side hustle I've tried. From the ones that barely made me coffee money to the ones that actually made over $100,000. I'll be rating each one based on how easy it is to get started, startup costs, ease of monetization, and my personal score. I'll also be sharing how much I made or didn't make and breaking down the pros and cons of each. No gatekeeping here. You're getting the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So let's get into it. Let's kick things off with my first business venture, wedding photography. Now, I've always had a passion for photography ever since I was a kid. I remember taking photos with my old Nokia phone back when the camera quality was awful and proudly uploading them to Facebook like they were masterpieces. I was that kid. Anywho, fast forward to when I migrated to Canada, the first place I lived at was in Banff, a super popular tourist town. So I thought, why not take advantage of all the couples coming here to have their dream wedding and engagement photos? And that's exactly what I did. So I became a wedding photographer. If you want to check my work, my photography Instagram is actually still up. It's at Where Wild Hearts Go. I'll leave it up here. I ended up earning about $15,000 from this gig. I mean, not too shabby for my first business venture, especially since I was only doing it as a side hustle while working full-time at a bank. If I remember it correctly, I charged $600 for engagement sessions and $1,000 to $3,000 for weddings. Now let's break down the pros and cons. I've always felt like a creative at heart, so this gig really fueled that passion in me. You see, there are no strict rules when capturing moments or telling a story through your lens. Like, you get to photograph something in your own style, and I think that's pretty cool. I met so many wonderful couples and families during my time as a wedding photographer, and up to this day, I'm actually still friends with some of them, which is really special. I've seen photographers raking in 6 to 7 figures just by capturing weddings, and that is mind-blowing. You see, when you're located in a popular tourist town like Banff, the income potential skyrockets even further thanks to the influx of couples wanting to tie the knot in such a beautiful place. Hence, I was able to charge those rates. Now, while I didn't quite reach 6 or 7 figures, I truly believe I could have if I had continued to pursue it more aggressively. Weddings are unique, and many moments only happen once, like the bride walking down the aisle or the first kiss. There is no second chance to get that shot. This pressure can be intense, knowing that you have to be at the right place at the right time to capture those moments. A typical wedding day can span anywhere from 8 to 12 hours or more, and as the photographer, you're probably on your feet most of the time carrying your heavy equipment with you. I always had 2 heavy cameras with me along with my backpack for all the other gear. I'm not gonna lie, it is exhausting. So you definitely need to be physically and mentally prepared for a job like this. It is not for the faint of heart. After the big day, there's still a ton of editing to do. Those photos don't edit themselves. And editing a full wedding honestly takes me about a week to finish, so it is definitely time consuming, sometimes more time consuming than the wedding itself. Okay, so now let's talk about ratings. I would give this a 3 out of 5. I don't think it's the easiest to break into. I mean, you need good camera gear, photography skills, and a strong portfolio to be able to book your first gigs. Plus, weddings are so high pressure that it's not something you can just wing. I would give this a 2 out of 5. Pretty expensive to start. I mean, you need a good camera, some lenses, lighting, memory cards, and a good editing software. I probably spent around $5,000 for all my gear. I would give this a 3 out of 5. Once you book a gig, you can start making money right away. It's pretty straightforward. You can even start offering discounted rates to friends and family to start building your portfolio. My personal score would probably be a 3.5 out of 5. I genuinely loved doing wedding photography as a side hustle, probably because I was already passionate about photography even if I wasn't getting paid for it. It is a great money maker, but it is exhausting. Between coordinating with clients, shooting the actual wedding, and editing all the photos afterwards, it's a lot of work. All right, let's chat about my next business venture, which is studio photography. Now, you might be wondering why I decided to quit my wedding photography gig when it was still making me good money. Well, here's the scoop. I moved out of Banff, and with that move, it became pretty impractical to continue shooting weddings since I was now living far away. But I wasn't ready to quit on photography just yet. So I thought, let's try something different. So I built a home studio photography business. I actually built a mini studio in my basement, and this was during the pandemic, which looking back was probably not the best timing. With everyone wary of going into other people's homes, I quickly realized it wasn't going to work out. I ended up shutting it down before I even had the chance to make money from it. Well, no, actually, you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, I think I booked one client, and this was my friend who was doing like a maternity shoot, and I believe I charged her $150. So there you go. I made $150 from it. Now let's break down the pros and cons. One of the biggest upsides was the creative control I had in a studio setting. It was a little different when I did wedding photography because that was all outdoors, which is kind of uncontrolled. With studio photography, I could set up my backdrop, my lighting, my props exactly how I wanted them. Working from home was a definite plus. I mean, I could work in my pajamas if I wanted to, which is a huge win for someone who loves to be home. Trying to work in a small area made setting up backdrop and props feel super cramped. My home definitely wasn't cut up for a full studio setup. If I wanted to keep at it, I would need a real studio space to be able to move around and bring my ideas to life. And without that, it just felt too limiting, which is one of the reasons why I decided eventually not to pursue it. When I was doing wedding photography in Banff, the beauty of that place brought couples to me. I mean, people were already in the area for their weddings, and it was much easier for them to find me and book a session. But with studio photography, it's a whole different ballgame. You're competing with a lot of other photographers who already have beautiful studio setups. And let's be real, not everyone needs their professional photos taken, which is why you need to actively market your services to get clients through the door. Okay, let's talk about ratings. I would give this a 3 out of 5. It's a little bit easier than wedding photography because there's less pressure, but you still need to know your way around the camera in a studio setup. I would give this a 2 out of 5. I think this would be roughly the same as wedding photography, if not more. You'll need a camera, lenses, lighting, some backdrops and props, and probably even a studio space. I would give this a 3 out of 5. Once you have a portfolio and a steady stream of clients, monetizing is pretty straightforward. I mean, people pay for professional photos, but getting to that point might take a little bit of time and effort. My personal score would be a 3 out of 5. Personally, I enjoyed wedding photography more than studio photography. I just loved shooting outdoors more. It has decent earning potential once you have a steady stream of clients, but just like any business, it takes work upfront to get those clients and build a name for yourself. Alright, my next business venture is a home bakery. Now, this all started during the pandemic when baking became the hottest trend. I mean, who wasn't whipping up banana bread or like trying their hand at sourdough? So I thought, why not join in on the fun? I started selling mini cakes, mango bravo cakes, tiramisu bars, and all sorts of sweet goodies. It was a great and delicious way to pass time while everyone was cooped up at home. Plus, I was able to make some money, bringing in more or less $1,000. I mean, not a lot, but not too bad as well. Okay, pros and cons. Your house is going to smell so good. No explanation required. You can work around your own schedule. Bake in the morning, in the afternoon, or even late at night, whatever works for you. Since you're baking from your own kitchen, you've already got the basics like your oven and mixing bowls, so most of your startup costs are just ingredients and packaging. There are lots of rules and regulations to consider in the food handling business. This includes health and safety guidelines, food storage requirements, and permits to operate legally. It's a lot to keep up with. While baking from home is cozy and budget-friendly, once orders start piling up and you take this seriously, your kitchen might just not cut it. Bigger orders and commercial standards call for serious upgrades. And renting and setting up a full industrial kitchen isn't cheap. Running a home bakery is a workout. What starts as a fun hobby can quickly turn into a marathon of baking, decorating, packaging, and delivering. And let's not forget the never-ending cleanup. When you're managing everything solo, it's easy to hit burnout mode, especially if you've got other things going on in your life. Okay, let's talk ratings. I would give this a 4 out of 5. It's pretty easy to get started, especially if you already know your way around the kitchen and have a few recipes up your sleeve. I would give this a 3 out of 5. You'll need some upfront investment for kitchen equipment, ingredients, and packaging. The good news is you probably already have the basic tools at home if you do baking, but it can still add up, especially if you're going all in. I would rate this a 4 out of 5. I mean, it's not too hard to start selling. You can even start selling to your friends or family or even your neighbors. And word of mouth works wonders in the bakery world. You can even start posting on Facebook Marketplace, which I find a lot of people do. My personal score is a 2 out of 5. It wasn't something I saw myself doing full-time, hence I eventually stopped. A home bakery is a nice little side hustle, especially if you're already passionate about baking, but just like wedding photography, it can get exhausting pretty easily because it requires a lot of time and effort. My next business venture is event decorating. And let me just say this right off the bat, event decorating was definitely not my cup of tea. I dove into it thinking, how hard can it be to make things look pretty? But let me tell you, it is way more than just arranging some flowers and draping some fabric. With event decorating, you need tons of inventory. And here's the kicker. 1, we didn't have the capital to invest in that stuff. And 2, we had no storage space to keep it even if we did. So there I was, trying to make magic happen with a tiny budget and zero storage. Spoiler alert, it didn't go well, and I didn't make any money from it. In fact, I lost money. So let's talk pros and cons. One of the best parts was getting to express my creativity. I think I've already established at this point that I love all things creative, so event decorating was definitely right up my alley. I didn't see it personally, but if you build a strong reputation and a loyal client base, this industry can be super profitable. And I know this because I've worked with event decorators when I was a wedding photographer. Once you've got some solid events and inventory under your belt, there's definitely room to turn this into a thriving business. One of the toughest parts of event decorating is all the stuff you need to keep on hand. Tablecloths, centerpieces, lights, backdrops, you name it, you need it. Stocking up can get very expensive, and then there's this whole, where do I even put this dilemma? If you don't have a big storage space, good luck fitting all that in your house. I didn't experience it myself, but I saw it up close as a photographer at weddings. I can only imagine the chaos when things don't go as planned. It's a high-stakes world where everything needs to be perfect, and that pressure can be intense. Okay, ratings. I would give this a 1 out of 5. It is not the easiest to jump into because you need tons of inventory and plenty of storage space to get started. And let's be real, not everybody just have that lying around. Again, a 1 out of 5. Like I said, you need some initial investment for decor items, supplies, and tools. If you're renting your own space, that adds up to the cost too, so it is not cheap. I would give this a 2 out of 5. I don't think booking events is all that easy, especially if you don't have much experience under your belt. Plus, if you're spending a lot upfront on inventory, it can take a while to see a return on investment. I think steady income doesn't happen right away in this hustle. I'd rate my experience with event decorating a 1 out of 5, and I think you understand why. While it can be profitable, it's not the easiest side hustle to break into. Plus, I don't think event decorating is something you can just treat as a side hustle. I think it's a business model that requires your full energy and attention, and you need to be doing it full time to run it successfully. Honestly, I wouldn't recommend it as your first shot in the business world. Alright everyone, let's dive into my next entrepreneurial adventure, becoming a lash technician. Yes, I tried to become a lash tech. I had seen how profitable doing lash extensions can be, and I thought, why not give it a shot? So I signed up for a lashing course with a lash teacher. I invested in all the equipment. Seriously, I went the whole 9 yards. But here's the kicker. I quickly realized that lashing is not as easy as it looks. If you think it's just a matter of sticking some lashes on, think again. There is so much precision involved, from isolating the natural lashes to ensuring the perfect bond. It requires a steady hand and an eye for detail, which I didn't have. So while I love the idea of making people feel fabulous with lash extensions, the reality was it just wasn't the right fit for me. Oh, and I didn't make any money from this. In fact, I lost money after paying for a $1,000 lashing course. Now let's talk about pros and cons. Lashing can be very profitable, especially once you've built a loyal client base. I personally have my lashes done once in a while, so I know how expensive they can get. If you're curious, I suggest you go on TikTok and check how much lash techs are making in a week. You'll be surprised. You can enjoy the flexibility of setting your own schedule, which can be great for work-life balance. More and more people are getting lash extensions than ever, so there's always a steady stream of clients looking for your services. A lot of people think it looks easy, but trust me, it is not. Mastering things like isolating lashes, perfect placement, and knowing your materials isn't easy. It takes tons of time and practice. I even practiced on my boyfriend once, and let's just say he regretted volunteering. This job can be tough on your body. You're sitting for hours doing detailed work with your hands, which can definitely lead to some serious fatigue. Keeping clients happy can be full of pressure, especially because this industry is all about physical looks. Some clients have really specific tastes or like super high standards, so the pressure to get it just right is always on. Okay, let's talk ratings. I would rate this a 3 out of 5. It's not too hard to get started since anyone can learn how to do lash extensions. The tricky part is mastering the skill. It definitely takes some time to get good at it. I'd give this a 3.5 out of 5. There's a little bit of investment upfront for things like lash extensions, your tools, a comfy space to work in, and paying for your training. It's not a lot, but it's still something. I remember paying about $1,500 to get started. I'd give this a 4 out of 5. Once you're trained and start getting clients, it's pretty straightforward to make money. Plus, lash services are in demand, especially if you're good at what you do. My personal score is a 2 out of 5. At the end of the day, I had to accept that this wasn't my calling. But hey, I gained a lot of respect for lash techs out there who make it look so effortless. So that is my lash technician chapter. It was a fun experiment, but it just wasn't meant to be. On to the next one. All right, let's talk about one of my favorite business ventures, selling on Amazon FBA. After getting tired of businesses where I basically had to trade my time for money, I dove into researching passive income streams, and guess what popped up on YouTube? Amazon FBA. In case you don't know, Amazon FBA, or Fulfillment by Amazon, is a business model where you send your products to Amazon's warehouses and they basically take care of everything. Storage, shipping, customer service, and even returns. So when someone buys your product, Amazon handles all the packing and shipping directly to your customer. It's like having a whole logistics team on your side, making it easier to sell things and reach a bigger audience without having to handle the nitty-gritty yourself. When I learned about Amazon FBA, I thought this could be a game changer. So I jumped in and found a simple product to sell: pampas grass. This right here is actually my very first product. Who knew these fluffy little beauties could make big money? I actually generated 6 figures in revenue from this, just under $200,000. Now let's break down some pros and cons, shall we? Once you've put in the initial work of choosing and sourcing your product, Amazon steps in to handle the hard stuff. This setup lets your business keep making sales even if you're off doing some other things. It's not 100% hands-off, but Amazon makes it easier to bring in a steady stream of income with minimal effort. I mean, let's be real, Amazon is practically the world's shopping mall, right? With millions of people browsing daily, selling on Amazon gives your product instant exposure to a huge audience. As your business grows, you don't have to stress about handling more orders or managing storage space because Amazon basically takes care of all that for you. It's perfect for growing your business without getting overwhelmed by the logistics, meaning you will need lots of money. Imagine your product is selling like crazy. Awesome, right? But now you're constantly needing to order more stock to keep up. And ordering thousands of units isn't cheap. When I ordered 2,000 units, I paid around $15,000. So yeah, it's great for scaling, but you definitely need to have some capital to make it work. Since so many sellers use the platform, it can feel like you're up against a million other sellers selling similar products. To really stand out, you need to find that perfect product, something that's in demand but not totally overcrowded. I like to call it a treasure hunt. Amazon definitely doesn't work for free, and their cut can be pretty steep. There's a reason why Jeff Bezos is a billionaire. Between storage fees, fulfillment fees, and ads, it's like they have a fee for everything. So while you're making sales and things look great on the surface, a chunk of that income goes straight back into Amazon. It's important to price things right so you actually take home some profit. Okay, ratings. I would give this a 2.5 out of 5. Getting started isn't super complicated, especially with all the resources Amazon offers and the countless YouTube tutorials that are out there, but it does take some time to really understand how everything works. I'm gonna give this a 1 out of 5. I mean, the costs can vary depending on your product, but there's definitely an upfront investment. You'll need money for inventory, Amazon fees, and potentially advertising costs to get your product noticed. I started with a capital of $7,000, which is not cheap and a lot of money to gamble. I'm giving this a 3 out of 5. You know, it really depends if you found a good product to sell. If you pick the right product, something that's in demand but not overly saturated, then money will start rolling in. But if you end up with something that is too niche, too competitive, or something that doesn't have consistent demand, it's a lot harder to turn a profit. So it could really go both ways. My personal score is a 4 out of 5. It was a successful business venture that taught me a lot about e-commerce and passive income. There's definitely earning potential, but you do need a decent amount of cash up front to get started. Just hop on YouTube and you'll find tons of success stories of people killing it with this. Funny enough, my old boss actually does this full-time now, and they're making millions. All right, next up, the business that changed the game for me. Selling digital products on Etsy. This one was a total win, and honestly, it's the one where I found the most success. If you want to dive into the details of my Etsy journey, I've got plenty of videos about it on my channel, so make sure you watch it. Anyway, once I discovered the magic of passive income with Amazon, I was obsessed. I mean, who wouldn't want to make money while they sleep, right? But when I realized just how cash-intensive Amazon can be, I knew it wasn't the perfect fit for me. I still wanted to build a passive income stream, but at the same time, I didn't want to break the bank. So I kept researching for other ways to make passive income, and that's when I stumbled upon selling digital products on Etsy. Instead of shelling out for physical products, I could create digital ones, designing everything on my laptop with zero stress over inventory or shipping. Now, this little Etsy venture has become my bread and butter up to this day, letting me quit my corporate job for good. So far, I've made well over $300,000 and counting. Now let's talk about pros and cons. Once you've created your products and set up your shop, they can keep on selling even if you're not actively working. And since there are no shipping costs or inventory to worry about, your profit margins are often really high. You don't need to worry about buying inventory or paying for shipping. You just create your products and list them. It's a super affordable way to start a business. You're in control of your own time. Since it's all digital, you can pretty much work from anywhere. You can set your own hours so you can work when you're feeling inspired or when you feel like it. It's the ultimate gig for anyone who loves flexibility and freedom. Now, don't get me wrong, competition can be a good thing. It keeps us all on our toes. But wow, when you're diving into the world of digital products, you'll quickly realize there are tons of other creative folks out there doing their thing too. You need to do some serious research to figure out what you can offer that's different from the rest. If you haven't dabbled in design before, it can feel like you're trying to learn a whole new language. It is not easy. Creating beautiful designs takes time, effort, and a lot of patience. You'll probably spend a fair amount of time experimenting. Okay, now let's talk about ratings. I'm gonna give this a 4.5 out of 5. Super easy to get started. You just need your computer and you can start designing some templates. The designing part is not exactly super easy and there's a learning curve to it, but compared to all the other side hustles I mentioned, this one's one of the easiest to get into. Again, I'm gonna give this a 4.5 out of 5. Etsy doesn't require much upfront. The platform has a small listing fee and some transaction fees, which are relatively low cost. Plus, you can create digital products using Canva, which is pretty much free. I'm gonna give this a 3 out of 5. It's kind of like Amazon FBA where it can go both ways. If you create something that really hits the mark, then the money can come pretty easily. But if your product doesn't stand out, then it can be harder to see sales. My personal score is a 4.8 out of 5. I don't want to give it a perfect score because it's not perfect, but it's almost close to perfection. Selling digital products on Etsy is a solid side hustle, especially if you're into graphic design. The startup is low, and if you're patient and put in the work, this can be super rewarding. Honestly, this is the business I'd recommend the most based on my experience. Okay, last but not the least, content creation, specifically my YouTube channel, this one right here that you're watching. In 2024, I decided to go all in with content creation, sharing more of my life and business journey. This is a side hustle I'm still growing. I haven't exactly made a ton of money, but the progress is super exciting. In 2024, my channel finally got monetized after over a year of creating content. Woohoo! Plus, I was lucky enough to land a few brand deals that same year. Never thought I'd get here, but it's been such a fun ride. So far, I've made roughly $3,000 on content creation since I started. Now let's talk about pros and cons. You can work on your own schedule. Whether you're doing late night editing or filming during golden hour, you're basically the boss of your own time. You get to create content about whatever you're passionate about, whether it's business tips, your personal life, or even your pets. You can create content on literally anything and there will be an audience for it. I mean, have you seen the videos on social media lately? My feed is full of everything from ingrown removal videos to theories about aliens coming to Earth. It is wild. Once you're monetized, the income opportunities can snowball. Ads, brand deals, affiliate marketing, you name it. And the best part, some of that income can be passive. Content creation takes time. From brainstorming ideas to filming, editing, and posting, it's way more work than people think. It takes me 1 day to plan my content, 1 day to film it, and about 2 days to edit it. That's 4 days for one single video. And this is especially true when you're just starting. You might go months or years without making much or even anything. Coming up with fresh ideas and staying consistent can be exhausting, especially when the results aren't instant. Oof, this one's tough. Being online means opening yourself up to feedback, and not all of it will be kind. You gotta have thick skin to be in this business. Okay, let's talk about ratings. I'm gonna give this a 5 out of 5. It is so easy to start. You just need a camera, you can pretty much use your phone, basic editing tools, and an idea. Literally anyone can start. I'm gonna give this one a 4.5 out of 5. It can be low cost, especially if you're already using what you already have, like your phone and free editing apps. This one I'm gonna give a 2 out of 5. While some people strike gold very quickly, the reality for most people is that it takes time, effort, and a lot of patience before you start seeing any money rolling in. My personal score is a 4 out of 5. Content creation is fun and rewarding, but it's definitely a long game. If you're passionate and consistent, it's worth it. Just don't expect to get rich overnight. Alright folks, that is a wrap on all the side hustles I've tried. I hope this gave you some insight if you're thinking about starting one of these or just curious about how they stack up. And hey, if you've enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe for more, and drop a comment about your own entrepreneurial journey. I'd love to hear what you've tried or what you plan on diving into next. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Until next time, keep chasing those dreams. Bye!